Alright, what's going on everyone? It's your boy Ethan at Resorts World on a lovely weekend Friday night or something like that. It's just packed. There's a private 10-20 game happening with a few friendly faces. So I'm gonna hop in there. This is going to be the last video before going to Hustler, because I'm driving to Hustler or driving to LA after this session. So it's gonna end around like midnight, 1 a.m. I'm gonna just drive straight to LA, staying with a good buddy's house. But yeah, so this video is gonna happen and then I'm gonna go play some Hustler. Felt like it was a good idea to play a little bit more cash. It went so well last time, so why not keep playing cash? That's it. It's another good opportunity to play. 10-20, it's hard to find 10-20 public games, so you can have a good time. Going to buy in for a decent amount and play some poker. So sadly, as the 10-20 game as advertised in the intro hasn't started yet, so I'm a little bit early, I decided to hop into the 5-10 streets, $3,000 to start off, and into the 5-10 we go, we pick up pocket nines in middle position. There's an undergun open to $30. I decided to call the 30, small blind and big blind call. So multi-way we go to a flop of 10-8-3. Action checks to me here, and I decided to check. Could actually have mixed feelings about betting, but multi-way against so many different players. Maybe someone has a 10. Who knows? Let's see a safe turn, which comes the 7 of hearts. Action checks all the way back to me again here, and sitting with plenty of options. Now I just think that my pair nines could be good a lot of the time, and also improve to an open-ended straight draw. I decided to bump up the size of the pot. I bet tiny, $30. The small blind folds, but the big blind has other thoughts and decides to check raise to 130. Well, under the player folds to me, and I'm certainly not going to be folding. Let's gamble. Let's try to hit a draw here, and our life would feel pretty damn good. I decided to make the call here and see the river, which comes the 4 of hearts. He checks now, and now it seems a little silly to be betting. I think could just take my pocket nines to showdown, but I wanted to go for value. Thought that there was maybe a decent chance that I can get an 8 to make the call. I don't even know if an 8 would take this line, but here we are. In game, I decided to bet small for $120. This player snap folds, and I just think in hindsight, I should really be checking this hand back. It doesn't really serve a whole lot as a value bet, but whatever, it worked out. Looks like the player didn't have much, and I'll take the first pot down. Second hand in, I'm in the $20 straddle, and the player to my left double straddles to 40. So not the typical 5-10 here. The first player to act raises to $100, and it folds to me. Looking down at Jack 10 suited definitely seems like a good spot to be in. I decided to just make the call, given I think him raising is going to be super strong here. But what's interesting is that the $40 straddler now 3 bets to $400. Sick. Pot is building. We're going to be playing a big one, but when the first to act opener who raised to 100, he ends up folding. I'm going to do the double call. I'm out of position, don't love it, but I do want to see a flop. So we're playing about 3,000 effective. There's a lot to play for behind, so let's make the call with a very playable one and see a flop of King of Hearts, Queen of Hearts, brick. Oh my god, I have the open-ended straight flush draw, whole lot of everything. This is a huge flop for me. I check it over to him, and he bets out $500. And now, out of position, yeah, I don't think I'm going to just make the call. I'm in a spot where I just want to get all the money in the middle right here, right now on this flop. And if there's ever a chance that he doesn't have anything on this board, then I just can take it down with a check raise. So I decided to bump up the size of the pot here and check raise to 1,600. I will say that the only thing about this flop is that it's going to be really good for the 3-better, and this player doesn't have a whole lot behind to play for after my check raise and asks if I want to run it twice. I always tell most players that I am pretty indifferent and happy to agree with whatever he wants, and he ends up going all in. I obviously make the call with the open-ended straight flush draw, and this player has pocket aces. All right, let's see 2 turns in rivers and hit, please.
That's good. I have a combo draw, that's all.
Yeah.
I got there.
First run out comes a bink on the river. It's always nice to scoop the first run out, and the second run out cannot improve. So, unfortunately, it becomes a friendly chop in about a $6,000 pot. No blood here, but if we did run it once, then I obviously would have scooped up a pretty big one here to start off the night. Hey guys, quick interruption to let you guys know that the biggest series in BetMGM poker history is underway right now in New Jersey, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. From September 15th to the 25th, play for over $2 million in the guaranteed prizes in the BetMGM Poker Online Championships. You can compete in big, high roller buy-ins, $100,000 daily phase events, and more exclusively on BetMGM Poker. For the complete series schedule, visit betmgm.com in the link below. Going to the next hand, we pick up Jack 9 of clubs in the hijack. Action folds to me and I raise it up to $30 and I get the button to 3-bet to 100. Thinking that this is a hand that I'm happy to battle with. It's connected enough, it's suited, and a natural in box. So I make the call and see a flop out of position, which comes Queen 9-8 2 hearts. This is a board I think that favors the out of position player a lot more, so I start off with a check and he bets out $70. Like I said, I think this board is going to favor me a lot more than him, and even more so when I actually hold a jack in my hand, blocking middle set with a 9 as well. I don't think my hand serves as a call a whole lot and wants to continue more with a check raise. So let's do that. Let's start bluffing right here, right now. Maybe get a lot of the one pair or air to just fold. So I check raise to $280. When I go to this check raise, he takes his time before making the call. So the pot's building, and we're going to battle here to a turn, which comes the deuce of hearts. The flush draw completes, and not necessarily loving the situation, but I don't think he has that many hands that can contain a flush draw. So with that said, I continue barreling again for 250. This player calls again really quickly, so I can't expect him to be too strong. When players have this timing tell, it seems like they didn't think about raising at all, and if their hand's a clear-cut call, then, like I said, can't be too strong. So we're going to go see a river, which comes the 7 of hearts. Don't love it. Now I think he's going to have a much stronger hand on this run out. I think he's going to have a lot of offsuit cards that just have 1 heart in them. He could have aces, kings, he can have ace queen, he can have ace king with 1 heart. A lot of hands that are not going to be folding now if I barrel, and you know, I'm not sitting with any heart in my hand. I decided to just give up and check. This player quickly checks back with ace queen of clubs, sadly. Could have won this one if I barreled again on the river. This is one of the difficulties of playing out of position, so I lose a little bit here, give my opponent some money, but well played by him. Okay, after playing about an hour of 5-10, 5-10-20, 10-20 games finally started. So there we go, as advertised. It's uncapped, it's fun. To wrap up the 5-10 numbers, played for like an hour or so, in the game for 4,000, out of the game for 3,450. So I lost $550. Gonna try to bounce back in the 10-20 game session. I don't know how long I'm gonna be here for, but as long as I'm playing, I'm gonna try to make the money back. So little detour, little pit stop at the 5-10 streets. 10-20 we go now. All right, moving on to the 10-20 streets. One of the first hands in the bigger game, I pick up Queen Jack of clubs in the hijack. I raise things up to $50, and my friend to my left, Sashimi, she 3-bets to 170. Upon this 3-bet, the button makes the call, and I'm going to close out the action out of position here. I decide to call as well, so it's just the 3 of us in a 3-bet pot, going to a flop of 7-6-3 2 clubs. Well, queen high flush draw is not so bad, and I decided to check. Sashimi bets 300, pretty large, and when the button folds, it's decision time for me now. Looking at her stack, she has about $1,600 behind the $300 bet, and if I raise here, is there even a sizing that makes any sense? I'm torn between just gambling and going for the all-in button, or just making the call and seeing a run out. So, when I'm thinking about these decisions, I think I just want to take the aggressive one. Let's go for it. I just jam, putting her all in. And once again, another opponent, she asks whether I'm down to run it once or twice, and I always have the same response. I'm always down to run it however many times she wants. She makes the call, and twice we go to the run out. I have queen high and a dream. Let's bink.
I hit the draw.
The first turn immediately gives me the winner. Let's go. Once again, free rolling the next run out, and Brick City. She has pocket queens and chop it up once again. All right, I'm always trying to be nice about running it once or twice. It shouldn't matter at all, but so far in this session, I could have scooped up a couple $1,000s already at this point by winning the first runouts. It's okay. It's another chopped pot, and there's no blood. The following hand, there's a $40 straddle on, and I pick up sixes in the small blind. The cutoff raises to $110, and I'm going to go step mining here out of position. I make the call, the big blind calls, and under the gun calls. So 4 ways, I'm max out of position, and the flop comes 8-6 deuce rainbow. Middle set and a dream. Let's go. I decide to start off with a check, and sadly, action checks around. Okay. Turn comes an ace, and I think this is another great spot where someone's going to bet at this, right? So I decided to not bet. I check, and sadly, once again, action checks around. Not the kind of action you want to see when you flop a set, sadly. All right, going to the river, which comes a 10. Come on, someone, please, has to bet here, right? I check for a third time, very scary, as I obviously don't want this to check all the way through. The player to my left actually bets out 300. Finally, someone put money into the pot. Action snap folds all the way back to me, and yeah, action's not going to stand for this $300 bet. I check raise to $1,400. Let's build this pot up the way it should have been when I had a set all along. She calls fairly quickly, and I show my hand, and guess what? Disaster. I'm surprised that she shows pocket deuces. No way. Set over set, and somehow I don't win the maximum. Granted, I did win a lot on this river here, but I could have made another $1,000 more, as she had about $1,000 behind, and what a huge cooler here. It's nice to be on the right side of it, although I'm winning in money. I'm not one to complain, although I didn't win the maximum because of all the checking on the flop and turn. Regardless, though, I win this one, and this one is not a chomped pot. Moving on to the next hand, I pick up ace 10 of clubs on the button here. There's an under the gun open to $50, and playing on the button, great spot to be in. I make the call, and the small blind calls. So 3 ways to a dream flop of 10-8 deuce, 2 clubs. Top pair, top kicker, nut flush draw. What more could I ever ask for? Action checks to me, surprisingly. Actually, not so surprising, as I have the entire board locked up. I decided to bet small, $50 here. I could actually check sometimes, but let's try to put some money into the middle. I have such a strong hand. Only the small blind makes the call to my left. All right, going to a turn, which comes an ace. This just keeps getting better and better for me. Small blind checks, and I'm going to bet for value here, so I size to $100. Not sure what I could even get paid by, to be quite honest with you. And you know what's even cooler? I get extra paid because she check raises to 300. What is going on here? Wow. Facing a check raise, I have top 2 pair with the nut flush draw. Like, it's just a dream. With everything locked up, I decide to just make the call. Don't think there's a whole lot of merit to raising here in this spot again. Basically, if I raise, I only get called by better hands, I think, which is just going to be sets. So for 200 more, I make the call. The river comes a king. All right, don't improve to a flush, still have 2 pair, which is really nice, and she slows down and checks, unfortunately. All right, I really expected this player to barrel again on the river, but yeah, I'm going to have to bet for value for sure with 2 pair. I have a strong hand, and I bet out $650, but she snap folds. Granted, it is really hard for her to have anything on this board. Maybe the turn check raise was just a bluff. Who really knows, but I just had the world and I had really easy decisions. The next hand is going to be a fun one. Welcome to a $50 8-way PLO double board bomb pot. Everyone gets 4 cards, everyone puts $50 in the middle, and we're going to go to 2 flops, which comes King Jack 7 2 clubs, then 6-6 deuce 2 spades, and I pick up ace ace king 6. Wow. What a spot to be in. Action checks around to the hijack player who bets out $180. Then the cutoff next to act jams all in for $910. Action folds to me, and okay, I've got some decisions to make here for sure. I have a 6 with the best kicker on the bottom, so it's almost the nuts, but not really the nuts. I have top pair on the top board, and that's basically it, or pocket aces. So, yeah, I don't think I can ever fold here in this spot, and the other player in the hijack has like 5,000 total in his stack, so I decided to just make the call of 9-10. Action folds around to the hijack player who thinks about his decision for a while and then announces pot. Oh no. The dealer counts it out. It's an all-in, totaling $4,560. What a painful spot to be in. It's just me left to act behind, and it's tricky because I have the ace of clubs, which blocks some flush draws, and I don't think this player is going to be all in super light. And I think overall, I'm in a pretty gross spot. When you play these PLO double board bomb pots, you want to have equity on both boards, but I'm basically screwed up top, and on the bottom, my hand is really vulnerable to be worse and up against a better hand. I think trips just can't really win a whole lot of the time. It doesn't even have great equity against flush draws. And I could also just be drawing super slim against pocket deuces. One of the issues about having two aces on the board is that now it's also very unlikely for me to hit one of my outs. I basically am drawing to a king or an ace, and I have two aces in my hand. So yeah, everything is really gross. I'm not loving the situation, and I'm assuming that the hijack player is either ahead of me already, or he has plenty of outs that I would need to fade. Ultimately, I just think that $4,500 more to call is just a lot, and I'm probably flipping at the very best. So after deciding for such a long time, you can see me that I am really, really close to either folding or calling. It's such a huge toss-up. The decision matters a whole lot for $4,500, and ultimately, I don't want to take the flip. I elect on a fold. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, whether this is right or not. But now it's time to sweat out what goes on. The hijack player has 6, 7, 8, 9, and 2 clubs. Oh my god. He has flush draws, he has straight draws up top, and he has a 6 with 3 outs on the bottom. So not surprised he had a lot of equity against me. The cutoff has pocket deuces, so he's the one with deuces for a full house on the bottom already, and the run out comes crazy. The hijack ends up hitting a straight on the top and a bigger full house on the bottom. He scoops the whole damn pot, and for my specific hand, I would not have improved, and results-wise, I would have lost. And that's one of the things about flipping for a lot of money, is that this player is going to have a lot of equity regardless of what happens. So I'm happy with my fold. I did lose $900 in this hand, but I certainly could have lost a whole lot more. And there we are. This player gets rewarded. He wins with a monster draw and monster hand on both boards, and good for him. He scoops in all the money, and he scoops in my $900 to go with it. On to another interesting spot with pocket queens in the low jack. I raise things up to $50, and immediately I get 3-bet by the button to $180. The weird thing is that the small blind actually cold calls the $180 bet. And here, sitting with queens, basically out of position against the 3-better, I think I'm more incentivized to squeeze here and 4-bet. So I have a really good hand to 4-bet. Obviously, queens is really strong, so I decided to bump up the price to $650. The button, sitting pretty deep stacked, makes the call, and somehow the small blind comes along as well. So it's a multi-way 4-bet pot. Not something you see very often, but I have a really good hand. We're off to a flop, which comes 10-3-4 to hearts. Overall, seems like a pretty safe flop for me, and I'm sitting with the queen of hearts, so not likely I'm up against the flush draw. Small blind checks over to me, and I decided to c-bet this one, although thinking that there is merit to checking pocket queens here sometimes, but I decided to bet out $500. The button thinks for a long time, and after a while, he decides to bump up the price of poker. Raises it up to $19.40, which is certainly something that I didn't anticipate. It's a pretty weird spot, and even weirder, the small blind looks like he has a decision to make. Oh no, I'm thinking that the small blind could very likely have a hand like pocket tens here, and if he ever gets involved and calls the 1940, then I think I have to fold pocket queens. It's only one pair. But end of the day, he ends up folding. Damn, I was actually kind of hoping the small blind would be in there. Then that gives me an easy decision. But okay, small blind player is out of there. Now I'm just heads up against the button player who has about $4,500 behind this raise, give or take. So in my head, I'm playing out of position. I could probably fold sometimes, as crazy as it is with queens, but I could also 3-bet jam. And I think those two are the main options, as I just believe that calling here might be the worst option. He's raising to represent some bigger overpairs like kings or aces that he certainly could have as played.
Or I could also get value from pocket jacks, which honestly might be it. Or also maybe he could have some heart draws. So I don't know. Thinking that if I decided to just make the call of this raise and don't improve, then, I'm going to have to give up and lose. Or I could just go all in and hopefully I'm good or win against the flush draw, win against pocket jacks. So let's go for it. I decided to 4-bet jam. If he has aces or kings, then it's just a cooler. He could have ace king of hearts as well, which is almost like a flip. So let's go for it. I jam, which is the very spicy option, and he calls pretty quickly. Oh no, this can't be good. He has pocket kings with no heart. Damn it. Could have just folded here on this flop versus that raise. It would have been very exploitative, but this player wants to run it twice, and I guess we can run it twice, even though I'm drawing pretty slim. I need runner, heart, or a queen. The first run out comes Brick City. Run out number 2, the turn comes a heart. Come on, it's a sweat. The river, brick. I've been chopping big pots all day long. And here, the one time I really wanted to chop and I was behind, I brick it all. It ended up being one of the biggest pots of the night. He had $6,500 total in his stack. And just like that, my stack takes a pretty big hit. The session wasn't going great, but now it's definitely not going well anymore. Like I said, I chopped 2 big pots on the first run out, and this time, no chop here, the best hand wins, and we're trying to move on. On the comeback trail, no better way than by playing 4-5 of diamonds. I'm in the big blind, and the button player decides to limp. Small blind limps as well, and you can't get unstuck by playing limped pots, right? So I decided to isolate the button player and raise things up to $100. And guess what? It looks like the button has other plans and wants to isolate me. He limp 3-bets to $320. Small blind gets out of the way here, and I'm stuck. It's a natural in Baccarat. I've gotten myself into a lot of trouble with this hand, but here we are. Let's battle against this player. I'm out of position. He has like $4,000 in his stack, so maybe we can get it all. I make the call and see a flop of King 3 Deuce 2 Spades. All right, flopping the open-ended straight draw. Not a bad flop at all. I check it over to this player, and he bets out 400. Okay. Let's hit. I'm not folding for $400. I make the call, and the turn comes the 7 of clubs. Not a card that hits me at all, but maybe a card that could favor me a little bit more than this player. But action goes check, check. All right, let's go to a river now, which comes the Bink 6 of diamonds. Finally, I hit something. Let's get paid here, please, in this spot. I have the nuts, and let's just blast out. Not expecting this player to bet again on the river once he checks the flop, so I bet out $1,500. Can I get called by pocket queens? Can I get called by pocket jacks? Potentially. I did just lose a massive pot, and maybe I can get called later. Anyways, I blast out $1,500, and he thinks it over for a long time and ends up calling. Let's go. Nice to get paid. He announced that he had ace king, which is kind of crazy. I guess if I knew he had ace king, I could have bet a whole lot more. But I'm not great at this game. I'm not great at getting max value. So I end up winning, and I end up getting a little bit of a rebate and refund from losing with pocket queens earlier. One of the last interesting spots of the night. I'm in the small blind with pocket 9s, and the cutoff player, same player from last hand, he limps to 20. I'm going to isolate with a good hand here. I decide to raise it up to $100, and the cutoff player makes the call. So against the same opponent again, here we go to a flop of 9-3 deuce rainbow. Here, I can go either way with a check or bet, and I decided to choose the checking option with my overpair. He checks it back. The turn comes the jack diamonds. An issue when you check in pair like this and end up seeing an overcard. Don't love it, but action goes check, check. The river comes a 5. Any 4 makes a straight. Board's super connected, but I just don't expect him to have a super strong hand on this board, so maybe I can get called by one pair? I bet out $400, and this player snap calls. Oh man, am I losing here again? I show my hand, and he shows ace king again? Wow. All right, I'll win this one, I guess, and there we go. Nice way to end off the night. I lose a massive one, but chip away a little bit the last 2 hands.
Oh my god, I have never been more pained to leave a casino. Not because of losing, which I did lose, but because I'm leaving when the game got so good. There's a guy that just bought in for $30,000, and then his friend just Thank you. Oh my God, you're the best. And a guy and his friend just bought it for a lot. It's rowdy in here. It's Resorts World. I'm a big fan of this place. But I'm leaving because I have to drive to freaking LA. So painful. And I walked away a loser, which sucks. But there's that. I was in the game for $28,450. Out of the game for $24,000 even. So that sucks. I guess the only cool thing about poker is that if you make the right decisions, most of the time you win. And I made the wrong decision with queens today, and that happened. So thanks so much for watching. Hustler streams coming up in the next video because I'm driving there currently now, right after this outro. I just left the best game in Vegas to go to LA. Better make some money back there. See you guys next time. Peace.